Welcome to Tourism Talk. I'm your host, Mary Hammond, Director of the Paducah Convention and Visitors Bureau, your destination marketing organization for Paducah and McCracken County. Had to get that in there, David, because we don't always know that exactly
Right.
what we do. And my guest today is David Boggs, and he's Executive Director of Barbecue on the River, the 18th annual Barbecue on the River.
It's right around the corner. We'll be here before we know it.
Amazing how fast these years have gone by and how much this festival has grown and become a part of our lives of everyone around here. I mean, and not just in Paducah, McCracken County, but in this region. We're also involved in this.
Right. We applied for a grant this year, and it was amazing. We had to list the number of counties that were affected, and we were amazed as we started listing the counties. I mean, we've far-reaching West Kentucky, Southern Illinois, Southwest Missouri, so it is a very huge impact on the surrounding area.
I guess we should start by saying the date.
September 27th, 28th, and 29th is the festival. That's when you can sample lots of great barbecue downtown, but we kick off with a special event on Wednesday, September 26th, is pork stock.
Kind of a takeoff of the Woodstock.
Right.
Back with the 40th anniversary,
Right.
I remember. It's I really like the beginnings of the festival. It kind of gets everybody in the mood and gets it started. And the people who are volunteering with so many of the other vendors throughout the week, this is a time for everyone to sort of relax and sit back.
They can. They do get to come down and enjoy the music, enjoy the barbecue, kind of breathe, before we get it started on Thursday.
So how many vendors, barbecuers, do we have this year?
Right now we're probably looking about 40, 42 barbecuers. They're still coming in. We'll have a few last minute folks coming in. And we're probably looking at about 30 food vendors, selling everything from funnel cakes to hot fudge cakes to ribbon fries and all that kind of good stuff.
I would say, very much like the other folks that are out there, that you've got your certain places that you go because you crave it all year.
Right.
But then you have to try something new. It's part of the experience.
Right.
Something that you haven't had before. And it's always surprising because there is always something brand
Every
new.
year when an organization will call and say, I want to participate in barbecue, can you tell me what to sell? And I think they're never going to find that item to sell because we don't allow things to be repeated. But inevitably, somebody comes up with a great new creative, usually deep fried dish. So,
Of course.
Yeah.
This is a community charitable event on our way over here. And you just sort of casually said a figure, and I just about fell off of the
Right.
seat.
Last year, $400,000 was reported raised for 75 different charities. That's just what's reported to us. There's folks that charge for parking in their church parking lot, different things like that, that may have a spin-off event. A couple of our barbecuers have their own Relay for Life event. So, it's all kind of spun off. But from that weekend, right at $400,000 was reported to us for that.
To how many nonprofit organizations?
Around 75.
That's fabulous.
And one of the interesting things I don't think people realize, if there's a service that Barbecue on the River can hire out, we will try our best, if it's in the best interest of safety and the organization, to hire that out to a not-for-profit. So we are paying out money to not-for-profits as well for services that we need.
Would that be things like parking?
Parking, security, the shuttle services that run from Carson Park down to the festival, we pay those folks. Trash pickup, GPS, the Greater Paducah Sustainability Project, they kind of take care of monitoring the area for trash, and we pay those not-for-profits.
Good. So I think about what our community would be like if we had to reach into our own pockets for over $400,000
Right.
To try and help our nonprofit organizations. We have a better life here because of Barbecue on the River.
Well,
Thank you.
we like to think that, and then that's what makes my job so fun.
Plus, we have a great week at the end of September.
Right.
And even though it starts one weekend, actually, the vendors are down and they're building their
Booths.
booth, getting its own personality, preparing their barbecue pits.
Right.
It gets to be exciting. And will we have the media cook-off this year?
We will have the media cook-off. Again, it's an Iron Chef style event. The media don't know what they're going to get in their cooler. It's a big surprise. They have about 4 hours to cook that and bring it back to the judges' tent. That takes place on Friday. We will be having a rib eating contest on Thursday, which we did it last year in cooperation with Texas Roadhouse. Hopefully we'll be doing that again this year. It's kind of a ribathon. There'll be different teams set up, and that was a lot of fun too.
Is that something a team would need to form ahead of time? Or
Yes,
you
yes.
do?
Contact Texas Roadhouse.
Texas Roadhouse. Well, that sounds like fun.
So, last year it was the police and fire department did a great camaraderie. Texas Roadhouse and Kirchhoff's Bakery had a team. So there's just something fun to build on. It's not one to see how many ribs you can eat.
Right.
It's more like a relay race.
So let's say you're wanting to come down, you have not quite experienced this, but you've heard a lot about it. So you're coming down Broadway, you're going to get to where the street will be blocked off at a certain point, but there are a lot of parking spaces in downtown Paducah.
Right.
There are lots all through here. Anywhere you see a spot, pull over.
Pull
That's
over.
a good, if you see a spot, that's a good place to park.
Start looking for parking. I mean, probably 4 or 5 blocks out from the event. If you find a spot, take it. And like I said earlier, we do have satellite parking at Carson Park, which I believe is on 28th Street.
Yes, Joe Clifton
Joe
Drive.
Clifton Drive near Noble Park where the county fair is. You can park there. They will shuttle you down. Those hours are on Thursday and Friday from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then on Saturday, I believe 9 or 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. as well.
Even if you get to the downtown area at someplace we may think, oh my gosh, you walked from 9th Street? That is still closer than if you're going up to St. Louis to a ball game.
Right.
I mean, a lot closer.
Right, it is a lot
So-
closer. And there's a lot of shops downtown
Yeah.
that you can window shop and see what they have. And, it is a great time to experience downtown Paducah.
I get a kink in my neck looking in the windows. But come on, walk on down, start gathering as you go. There will be vendors, the old Marcus Days vendors. And,
Yes.
how many vendors do you anticipate?
We're probably looking at 80 different vendors.
Wow.
You
So
know,
these will be at Broadway and 2nd Street?
they'll be on Broadway from 2nd Street to Water Street, and
Okay.
then on what they call the promenade there near the Quilt Museum, all along 2nd Street from Jefferson all the way to Madison.
Okay, that's good. And the rest of the streets are just full of people.
Full of people, full of food. We just want folks to come down and enjoy what Paducah has to offer. It's something that we're proud of, being barbecue proud.
Yes.
And it's just a great opportunity.
You'll see the stage in the opening of the flood wall. There's a great lineup of bands. I'm not familiar with all of them, but a lot of them we know and love.
We try to keep that local as well.
Yes.
They have a lot of heart to give, and
Oh,
they realize
yes.
they're giving back to a good organization or a good cause, not just our organization, but giving back to 75 organizations as well.
There is the Symphony beer and wine area. It is fenced off. You do
Right.
have to be, I've worked that gate. You do have to be of age to come
Right.
inside, and they don't allow alcohol to leave the area. So it's it's a nice area for those adults who'd like to stay in there and
Right.
and enjoy the music. But it's a very much a family atmosphere throughout everything else.
Yes, it's a great family event.
Will there be anything on the riverfront?
Marine Industry Days will
Oh,
take place
yes,
on
right.
Saturday, which is a great highlight of what the river industry does for Paducah. I just spoke with the folks with that organization yesterday, and tentatively they do have a towboat
Good.
scheduled, tentatively scheduled to be docked there that day, which is a great opportunity. Folks see the boats come up and down the river, and you never know what the inside of one looks like, and it's a great opportunity to tour one that day.
Tour one and to see some of their competitions.
Right.
And I mean, those lines they're throwing,
Right.
they are some big, heavy rope.
It is. It is. All that stuff will be updated on our website,
Which
as it
is?
comes in, which is bbqontheriver.org.
BB and a Q.
Yes, bbqontheriver.org.
If you don't by chance remember that, you can always do Paducah.travel and do a direct link over to it and catch up. It'll have all of the participants in Old Market Days. And I love it that it lists who is the charity.
Right.
And you'll see that those charities are all over the place. The barbecue teams are all over the place. Every type of group that you can imagine that loves to get together, have fellowship and barbecue, and the charities are just great. Schools, scholarship funds, United Way Heart, Oscar Cross Boys and Girls Club, baseball, Miracle Network. I mean, it's
It's a great list of folks, and I mean,
It really is.
those folks are really passionate about who they're raising money for.
and I love that because if passion is involved and people really care, you feel it. You feel it in the air.
You do.
Everyone is sincere.
And it's also a contest. We can't forget that as well. These guys are working hard to serve really good barbecue. So the money is very important that they're raising for charity. But on Saturday, they're working hard to pump out some good barbecue for the judging and win one of those trophies that will be presented at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon.
So the judging is on Saturday.
Saturday morning.
I walked around one year for the whole hog judging. That was so much fun. They were so decorated. They were, it's an art now.
It is. It is. I mean, it really is an art. Barbecue is really coming into its own. We were at a conference a couple of years ago, and the projections for barbecue contest and the art of barbecue is gonna. They're talking about would rival NASCAR at some point. You know, so it's just a huge impact into a community. And these guys have the athletic mentality. Sometimes they don't worry about the check; they're more worried about that trophy.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
So I mean, it is definitely a sport within itself because they are they
Right.
do really take that competition seriously as well.
It's very authentic Americana.
It is.
And that is one of the things we hear about our own community is how authentic our town is. And this is just another aspect of
Well,
it.
I think too you can look at the roots of barbecue on the river. I mean, it was two, you know, women that were from the Paducah area. One was a transplant, I believe. One was raised here in Paducah. You know, really saw the need for this and started it. And who would have thought 18 years ago we're as big as we are, consuming as much product as we are. You know, I know we saw a video last year about the second barbecue on the river, and one of the barbecue teams was excited that they had sold 20 slabs of ribs. You know, that's 15 minutes worth of sales in today's festival. So, I mean, it's, who knew that it would grow that fast?
I worked with Mimi Wiley when I first started at the Visitors Bureau in the 80s, and it was always her dream to have a barbecue festival. I don't know if she would ever believe how large
Right.
and the money that's raised for charity.
I think that Barbecue on the River's mission is simple. It's to sell the best barbecue in the country, raise the most money for charity, and draw the biggest crowd into downtown Paducah. And I think we continually are striving and hitting that mark
It's
annually.
very unique. This is not like the Memphis in May. It's
No.
not like even the Kansas City, although our judging,
We mimic both,
Okay.
Kansas City and Memphis. I mean, we kind of mimic both as far as our judging, but a lot of, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of barbecue contests, sanctioned contests, do not allow you to feed the public.
Right.
You know, so you will go to a contest and you see and smell all this great barbecue and you see all these trophies that these folks have won, but you can't taste their product. Here, it's a requirement. You have to compete and you have to feed the public if you're going to sell barbecue. So it's the dual purpose. And some of our barbecue contestants they participate on the circuit and have won some pretty big contests.
so you've got pulled pork, whole hog,
Right.
ribs,
And chicken.
chicken, but there are some brisket out there.
Some of the folks are cooking brisket on the side. We don't judge that. I mentioned that a couple of years ago, and our barbecue contestants are so busy and their smokers are so full. They about ran me out of the meeting saying they just didn't have room to do it, which is
Right.
a good sign not to do that. You know,
And
they were just so
right.
busy. But some of them will cook some of the other things. Brisket, you know, is one of the things that they'll cook and serve. Barbecue bologna, barbecue ham.
Shrimp even.
You know, yeah, shrimp. You'll see a lot of that different stuff that they'll throw on the smoker.
I love that when they do something just small batch.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
It's kind of fun being on the backside too, because a lot of times they'll barbecue some things that aren't even served to the public, and they'll come up and they'll say, "We just tried this on the smoker. You got to come give it a try." So we'll run down to their booth and get to sample that. So
Those wild game
yes,
comes from Ballard County. They do
Yeah.
some of that. So switching gears a little bit, if you are handicapped, where is handicapped parking?
handicap parking is available behind the Finkel's building,
Okay.
which is on the Finkel building faces Kentucky Avenue. The easiest way to access that is to come down Washington and to come in the
Right.
backside there. There's also going to be some handicap parking in the old Executive Inn parking
Right.
lot. If you'll come down Madison Street, if you've got a handicap tag, they will allow you in that parking lot. And there's some parking that
close.
runs right along the flood wall there on Madison Street.
But from there, and we had some people asking, that you need to be mobile,
Right.
either in a chair or a scooter, or be able to walk over to the festival.
Right.
And it is crowded.
It's
It
very
is,
crowded.
It can be a challenge to have a stroller or a chair or I've given up on the golf cart.
Right.
We don't do that anymore. It was back when it was much smaller. We hoof it.
Right.
But that's
You can
okay.
get there a lot faster
You
hoofing.
can. You can get a lot of exercise. Wear your walking shoes. If you don't want the really big crowd, come earlier in the week. It's less crowded.
Or even during the day, if you
During
can
the
spare
day
a
is
couple of
good,
hours
yes.
during the day.
Right
come
after
down
work,
there at
mhm.
lunch. A lot of folks are doing lunch. If you want good barbecue and you don't want to fight the crowd at all, a lot of the barbecue teams offer delivery during the lunch hours.
Do they really?
And I'm working on getting that on the website. It'll be
Great,
listed on the
yes.
website in blue, I think, with the phone number you can call. But check that website out,
Okay.
bbqontheriver.org. And there's a lot of barbecue teams that do a lot of lunch specials and deliver
Right.
on Thursday and Friday.
Good.
None of them will deliver on Saturday, but Thursday and Friday is a great chance to get some.
And not to remember that there is a barbecue restaurant on Broadway. You can go in there and sit down in the air conditioning and enjoy it. If you're not someone who's really, you want to be a part of it, but the crowd, the smoke, whatever, kind of scares you away, you can go, or Whaler's Catch, you can get a reservation
Right.
there. And the downtown restaurants all have their own, everybody has some
Right.
type of a barbecue dish. So don't let it scare you away. Come on downtown and anyway.
Right. Pork stock is another, we mentioned that earlier. That's
Yes.
another great opportunity to experience barbecue without the crowd. It is a ticketed event. You have to buy a ticket. It is a fundraiser for the Barbecue on the River organization. But, we serve a barbecue meal that night. So we'll provide you with the meal. It's cooked by one of our competition barbecuers. Great side items by Laura Duff. So that's another good chance to get a taste of barbecue without fighting some of the crowds.
Now you've gotten a good sponsor for that night, haven't
We
you?
have. Orthopedic Institute is our
Good, we're
sponsor
thankful.
for pork stock. And we couldn't do Barbecue on the River without all of our many sponsors. We've got U.S. Bank, U.S. Foods, Sam's Club, Pepsi Mid-America, the Convention and Visitors Bureau does a great Ambassadors do a great job. So, we couldn't do a festival without all of those sponsors as well.
Well, it is much appreciated, and it has been recognized across the state. In fact, the Kentucky Travel Industry Association, which is almost 1,000 members strong
Wow.
across our state, and they have a panel of judges, impartial, of course, to look at the applicants of the top events in Kentucky each season. And they look at the impact on your community. They look at the involvement of it. Is it complementary to your downtown, to your city? And I'm glad to say that once again, Barbecue on the River and Old Market Days has been chosen one of the top 10 Kentucky's festivals.
Well, thanks.
So,
We appreciate that.
yes. And yeah, very proud of that. Because let me tell you, you've got some pretty good competition out there.
Right.
Kentucky's got some very
We've got
nice
a lot of
festivals.
great festivals across the
You do,
state.
yes.
I'm just now kind of getting out there and experiencing some of those. So anxious to see what else is out there and what our competition is.
Well, tell me around, all right, I always try to get a map in my head. So basically, there are vendors who are in the same spot each year. And you kind of get those, and that's like get your compass points
Right.
down. So if somebody's giving you directions, you can have those few really big vendors kind of as your focus points to give directions. So, and I always sort of get down to the edge of the Quilt Museum, and then I'm kind of lost down here. But there's some really good vendors down there.
There are some great vendors
and
down
into
there.
the farmers market.
Around the farmers market area, those folks work just as hard. And it's not a bad thing to be down there. Some of those folks, their volunteer base may be small, so it's kind of great to be on the edge of the event to kind of get their feet wet and grow to see if it's something that they want to continue to do. But we added a great new family children's activity down there last year. One of the local private schools brought in I call it the hamster ball on water. I don't know exactly what they call it. It's like this big inflatable ball that you can actually climb into, and there's a giant pool that has about 12 to 18 inches of water in it, and the kids get in there and can just kind of play around. You don't get wet. It's not a
hamster roll.
Yeah, it's not like a dunking booth kind of thing, but that really brought a lot of traffic down to that area, and we saw an increase in traffic down to that side. So.
And there were some wineries down at that end. Were they
We-
Southern Illinois, Kentucky?
No, we
Kentucky.
do. Right now, we just do Kentucky wineries.
Right.
Chrisman Mills, which is out of the Nicholasville, Central Kentucky area, and then our own Purple Toad Winery from here in Paducah have participated in the past, just offering samplings and tastings, and Purple Toad being a local winery, they've won a lot of contests across the state, and I think across the country as well.
Oh,
So
yes.
I think it's a great opportunity. And we've got Glisten Winery right downtown as well that has a permanent
Right.
tasting room now that you can sample, I'm sure, during Barbecue on the River too.
I'm sure there will
Yep.
be. But it's every year I have to go down there and discover, now, who is the one that has the barbecue nachos that I like so much? I can never remember exactly which one it is. But and then, of course, there are the Old Market Days vendors that are some of the favorites. There's some face painting that is out of this
Right.
world.
They do a great job. I mean, face painting, I know
It's come a long
when I was
way.
growing up, it was like the wax crayons that your mom kind of painted something on your face, but now they're using airbrush and glitter and sequins and all that kind of stuff to really make the kids stand out. And adults, I've seen some adults.
I might
with
do
the
that this year. I think I should. But that's a lot of fun. Will there be anything on the lawn of the Quilt Museum?
At this point, I don't believe so.
Okay.
I haven't. We have not been notified if there is.
Sometimes they'll have a class reunion
Right.
that meets there. Now, is there another gathering spot? If there is a class reunion, and there always are class
Right.
reunions, should they contact you for one thing? Do you
We
wanna know
don't have
about
any
them?
spots anymore.
No.
The festival has just become so big,
Right.
you know, and so congested that we appreciate the class reunions,
Mm-hmm.
what they did early on, but it became a safety issue. It's not that we didn't want the class reunions there. It was
Mm-hmm.
we kind of started weaning those back as far as being behind Schultz
Mm-hmm.
Park or in Schultz Park, just for safety reasons, and kind of started suggesting they contact the Quilt Museum. So
I'm thinking that, or maybe this is a way to tie in the downtown restaurants that may be having a slower period
Right.
as we do this community fundraising
Right.
event. So maybe that they can have a home base there and work with the restaurants to have some of those specialties
Right.
and still use them as a home base to get out there and visit and walk around.
Right.
You know, I think that might be
I haven't had
something
any contacts with class reunions this year, though.
Okay.
So I think, you know, they're maybe doing their thing at the school and coming down for barbecue
Sure.
for just a couple of hours. But it's a lot of class reunions, and a lot of organizations plan events around this weekend because it's a built-in entertainment base.
Well, and families, if you're having someone come home to visit, this is a perfect time, and they really do like to schedule to
Right.
come home during Barbecue on the River.
My dad comes to visit from South Carolina every year during
Does he really?
Barbecue on the
Yeah.
River. So
Well, I love that.
it's a reverse homecoming, I guess you would say, for us there. So
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, I know he enjoys that. We're trying to think, what else do we need to talk about? There's always the money machine is always down
yeah,
there.
we've got a couple of ATMs. We added that last year. We'll have one near the beer garden, and then
Well,
we'll
that's a
have
good thing.
one somewhere near the corner of 2nd and Jefferson. It'll be, actually there'll be more than one, but there'll be a tent with probably 2 or 3 inside there. Some of the fun statistics other people like to hear is last year we consumed 90,000 pounds of pork and chicken.
Wow.
In the process of raising $400,000. The guy that sells the ribbon fries, and this was a new statistic for us, he went through 2 tons of potatoes last year, 4,000 pounds of potatoes by 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. So, you know, it's a festival where you can come, enjoy yourself, help a charity, and eat really good food as well.
I always stop at the booth that has the cinnamon rolls, and the lady
Unfortunate
makes.
for you, they are not coming
They're
back
not.
this year.
I mean,
no.
they sold 1,500
Yeah.
packets of sweet rolls in like 2 days.
They did, but it's a church, and their mission changed, their focus changed, and just realize nothing negative,
Well, I hope someone else comes
Yeah.
and does those good rolls.
So yeah, I was a little disappointed to hear that one too. But when a church is changing focus and changing
Oh,
their
yeah.
mission, you can't argue with that.
No, but someone else will pick up the
Right.
standard and make it might be a little bit different, but that's okay. We're all up for change. We're all up for change. Well, okay, so let's review what we're doing here. September 27th, 28th, and 29th.
Right.
And the 27th is pork stock,
26th is pork stock.
which is Wednesday.
Wednesday the 26th, it's pork stock. It starts at 6 p.m. Tickets start at $10 for general admission, go up to $50. 10, 25, and 50 are ticket prices. They can be purchased at BBQ and More at 321 Broadway in downtown Paducah. Barbecue on the River actually kicks off at 11 o'clock on Thursday. It's when food will be available. All day Thursday till about 10 or 11 o'clock, or until the guys just give out and can't cook anymore that day. Then we'll kick back up again on Friday at 11 o'clock. Again, serve it till they're tired or it runs out. Then on Saturday we start up around 9 o'clock.
Yes.
I'm not sure if people are brave enough to eat barbecue at 9 o'clock, but if you can figure out a way to eat it for breakfast, I'm sure some folks will have it available. We're judging. Our judging starts at 9 a.m. So if you kind of want to come down and look and just kind of get a glimpse of how that works, and we take that pretty seriously. I mean, that's a pretty of the 3 days of the festival, that 3-hour window is probably our most intense window during those 3 days, and you can kind of get a pulse of what these guys are going through. And then it, really kicks off around 11, and just really enjoy ourselves the rest of the day. Awards presentations are at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
On Saturday, and then continue to enjoy good barbecue, great music, get a cup of beer, glass of wine from the Symphony Beer Garden. And then we'll wrap up around 10 o'clock that night.
Good, that's good. One thing we didn't talk about was the chicken clucking contest and the hog calling. So one of our last things we'll cover here.
We don't do that anymore.
Oh!
No, we don't do that anymore. I think you were the last winner for that, weren't you, Mary?
No, I never did that. No. But I didn't realize that. Okay. Well, I always thought that was kind of cool. All right. Well, there's always change and do something different, and you never know about
We kind of replaced that with the rib eating contest. Is where that change came
that's
in.
Better.
So
that's better. You got a sponsor for that.
Yeah.
One. That's good. Well, you never know. But you'll still hear some clucking or some calling from the
sure you
crowd.
will.
I'm sure. Well, David, thank you for joining us. And I look forward to a really good barbecue on the river and Old Market days. Don't forget BBQOntheriver.org
Yes.
or Paducah.travel. Come down. If you need volunteers.
we could all, if somebody wants to volunteer, just go to that website, shoot me the information. I'll see if we've got a place to plug it in. Believe it or not, the festival itself doesn't use as many volunteers. It's the participants, it's the contestants,
Right.
the cookers that really eat up most of the volunteer hours during, and they kind of do their own thing.
Well, keep an eye out for the Rotaract Club because they'll be letting for
People's
$1,
Choice Award. We had
People's
forgot about
Choice,
that.
$1 a piece to vote on it, and they raised a lot of good money for
They
charity
did, and
as
they added a couple of categories this year: best dessert and best side dish.
Oh,
So that's kind of spreading the wealth and letting some of our food vendors involved in that as well.
well, just thinking about those the side dishes makes my lips just tingle from eating those hot corn on the cobs that the Elks fix. All right, well, thank you for joining us. I hope that we'll see you downtown for Barbecue on the River the last weekend of the month in September. Until then, we'll be looking for you right on Broadway.